وعلى ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. غوث اعظم من بسروں ساما مدد قبلہ دی مدد کعبہ ایما مدد قودریم نعرائے یا غوث اعظم زنم دمز شیخ احمد رضا خان قطب عالم زنم سیدی یا مرشدی شاہ مصطفیٰ خان زندہ باد. مسلک سرکار اعلی حضرت زندہ باد. یا الہی مسلک احمد رضا خان زندہ باد. حفظ ناموں سے رسالت کا جو ذمہ دار ہے سیدی یا مرشدی شاہ مصطفیٰ خان زندہ باد. حامل فیض رضائے مصطفیٰ امداد کن. صلی اللہ علیہ النبی الامی وآلہ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم. صلاۃ و سلام علیک یا سیدی یا سندی یا حبیبی یا طبیبی یا رسول اللہ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم وعلی آلک و اصحابک یا رحمت للعالمین. All praise is due to Almighty Allah. Durood and salams upon the most perfect, exalted and glorified of Allah's creation, Sayyiduna Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. These blessings and salutations upon the Anbiya Ikram, Ahlul Adhar, Sahab Ikram, Khalifa Rashidin, Tabi'in, Tabi' Tabi'in, A'immai Mujtahideen, Awliya Kamilin, and all those who follow the path until the last day. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His infinite mercy and through the wasila of Rasul Akram Nur Mujassam sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for blessing us with the opportunity to congregate, to remember him and his beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and to pay tribute to the Imam of the Awliya, the gate and the entrance of the Ruhaniyat of the Sufiya, the personality who is known as the Sultan ul-Awliya and the Imam ul-Awliya, Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani al-Baghdadi radiyallahu anhu, whom the world knows and recognizes as Ghawth A'zam or Ghawth Pak radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Alhamdulillah, tonight is Gyarhwee Shareef, and bifadlillahi ta'ala every night is Gyarhwee Shareef, like how every night is Barhwee Shareef. But because of the month of Rabiul Akhir, this Gyarhwee is such a Gyarhwee that through this Gyarhwee we have barakat for the other Gyarhwees. Ghawth Pak radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, what do we say about Ghawth Pak? Who are we? What is our capacity? And what is our capability that we may speak about Sarkar-e Ghawth Pak? Whereas the awliya and the nuqaba and the nujaba and the awtads and the abdal, the budala, spend their entire lives rubbing their eyes under the soles of the sacred feet of Sarkar-e Ghawth Pak. Spend their entire lives rubbing their eyes under the soles of the sacred feet of Sarkar-e Ghawth Pak radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. When you talk about somebody, you speak about his maqam, you talk about the excellence of his head. You speak about the excellence of his head. And you talk about, because the highest point above the shoulder is the head. The highest point above the shoulder is the head. And a person's, when you speak about somebody's fadilat, then you speak about his eyes, the power of his eyes. You speak about the fadilat of his eyes and his head, etc. But when speaking about Sarkar-e Ghawth Pak, Shahanshah Baghdad, Sarkar-e Ghawth A'zam Jilani al-Baghdadi radiyallahu ta'ala an, what is said by the Mujaddid of the century, by Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Azimul Barakat, Imam Ahle Sunnat, Fidaye Ghaus Azam, radiyallahu ta'ala anh, he says, sir, bhala kya koi jaane ke hai kaisa tera? How will anybody knows what is the maqam of that head? Sir, bhala kya koi jaane ke hai kaisa tera? औलिया मलते हैं आंखें वो है तलवार तेरा. औलिया मलते हैं आंखें वो है तलवार तेरा. What are we talking about? The head of Ghaus Adam. First, understand the soles of his sacred feet. The awliya Allah rub their eyes under the soles of his feet. Awliya malte hai aankhe wo hai talwar tera. And when we talk about Ghaus Pak, then we talk about his feet. We talk about Ghaus Pak, then we talk about his feet. We say, where can we explain the head? And we talk about the master of Ghaus Adam and our master, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then when we talk about the fadilat, everything is blessed. But we don't even say the feet now. What do we say? What do we say? We say Subhanallah, as Ustaz Zaman Shahanshah Sukhan, Maulana Hasan Raza said, जो सर पे रखने को मिल जाए नाले पाक के उसमें. अब कदम की बात ना करें, नाले ने मुस्तफा की बात करें. Don't talk about the Qadam Naz here. Talk about that sacred footwear that has touched the Mubarak feet of Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam. जो सर पे रखने को मिल जाए नाले पाक के हुजूर, तो फिर कहेंगे कि हाँ ताजदार हम भी हैं. The kings want to put the crowns of the dunya on their head. They want to put the crowns of the dunya on their head. And the beloveds of Allah take the nalain of Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam as their crown. And those who took the nalain of Rasul Pak as their crown, they stood on the mimbar of Baghdad and they announced, Qadami hadihi ala rakabati kulli waliyillah. Qadami hadihi ala rakabati kulli waliyillah. That is why on the push of Sarkar-e Ghaus Adam was the nishan of the Qadam Naz of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because Sarkar-e Ghaus Pak took the Qadam Naz of Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was commanded from the court of Allah. When Ghaus Pak said that this foot of mine is on the shoulders of all the awliya Allah, when he said this Qadami, I spoke about this in Jummah, Qadami hadihi, this foot, ismun ishara. This foot, physical. Qadami, my foot. Hadihi, this foot of mine. Ala rakabati kulli waliyillah is on the necks, on the shoulders of all the awliya Allah. And in Arabic language, some people turn around and say, but what about, okay, then what about those very great gurus before Ghaus Pak? Don't understand in Arabic, kul is for aksar. Kul is for aksar, most. Kul is for most. They say, what about Mawla Ali? Are, Mawla Ali sahabi. But the doors of wilayat are from Mawla Ali. But Kul is aksar in Arabic language. So all those great awliya Allah, those who came even before many of them, Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi radiallahu ta'ala, Hazrat Sayyidina Saruddin Sarri Sakti radiallahu ta'ala, Hazrat Maruf Karfi radiallahu ta'ala, they all spoke about the maqam and the fazilat of Sarkar-e Ghaus Pak radiallahu ta'ala. And while I'm on the topic, I'm going to just read a narration to you. I'm going to try and present one narration to you on the topic. That since I took the name of Saruddin Sarri Sakti and Hazrat Sayyidina Junaid al-Baghdadi radiallahu ta'ala, do you know Ghaus Pak is that Imam of awliya talking about, but what about this before him? Sayyidina Ghaus Pak's Murshid. Ghaus Pak ki baas bhi peer hai. Ghaus Pak also had a sheikh. Aaj kuch log kehte hain ki hame zarurat nahi hai. Yes, Rasul Pak is the Pir Aam. Rasul Pak is Aam Murshid, the Shaykh. There's nobody like him. But the Pir Khas is also Zaruri. And those Pir, the great Budhagandhi ne said, Jiska koi Pir nahi, uska Pir Shaitan. Now this here does not refer to the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Because their Pir Aam is Rasul Pak. So jiska Bad Mazhab uska koi Pir hi nahi. But we too should take a Pir Khas so that we can get that closeness to Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ghaus Pak had a sheikh. Some people say, we don't need any Pir man. We got direct contact with Ghaus Pak. Subhanallah. Ala Hazrat Adimul Barakat, when he wants to go in Rasul Pak's darbar, he doesn't go direct. And Ala Hazrat, great Imam like Ala Hazrat radiallahu anh, when he wants to go in the darbar of Rasul Pak, he doesn't go direct. He says, तेरी सरकार में लाता है रजा उसको शफी, तेरी सरकार में लाता है रजा उसको शफी, जो मेरा गौस है और लाडला बेटा तेरा, जो मेरा गौस है और लाडला बेटा तेरा. गौस पाक speak, talking now about मकाम. गौस पाक speak Hazrat Abu Sa'id Mubarak al-Makhdumi radiyallahu ta'ala, and some riwayat say al-Mukharrami, some say Makhdumi and some say al-Mukharrami, but mashhoor it is al-Makhdumi. Hazrat Abu Sa'id Mubarak al-Makhdumi radiyallahu anhu, the Shaykh of Sarkar Ghaus Pak. What did he say? What did Ghaus Pak speech say? He said, Abdul Qadir wore the khirqa from me. You know what's a khirqa? Khirqa is, I'll give you for simple example, jubba. The cloak, but it's not just a piece of cloth. It is a jubba, a cloak of ruhaniyat. It's a mantle of ruhaniyat. That when the murshid puts that khirqa on top of that khas shaykh or murid, then he doesn't just give him a jubba, he gives him the khirqa, a wilayat. So, Sarkar Abu Sa'id Mubarak al-Makhdumi radiyallahu anhu, he says, Abdul Qadir wore the khirqa from me, and I wore the khirqa from Abdul Qadir. Allahu Akbar. Abdul Qadir wore the khirqa from me, and I wore the khirqa from Abdul Qadir. Now talking about this khirqa that we wore from his feet. Quickly we're going to go through 2 or 3 things tonight. The khirqa that Ghaus Pak wore from his feet, I'm going to give you a little bit of silsila riwayat of that khirqa. That jubba with the spiritual blessings that Ghaus Pak wore from his feet, it is reported that Ghaus Adam radiallahu ta'ala wore the khirqa from his murshid, Hazrat Abu Sa'id Mubarak al-Makhzumi radiallahu ta'ala, some say Mukharram, I said. He received it from Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Abu al-Hasan Ali Muhammad al-Qurashi radiallahu ta'ala, and he received it from Hazrat Sayyidina Abu Shaykh Abu al-Farah al-Tartusi radiallahu ta'ala, and Hazrat Sayyidina Abu al-Farah, Shaykh Abu al-Farah al-Tartusi radiallahu anhu, he received it from Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Wahid Tamimi radiallahu anhu. He received it from Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Wahid Tamimi radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he received it, Hazrat Abdul Wahid Tamimi radiallahu anhu, received it from his Shaykh Kamil, Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Abu Bakr Shibli. Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Abu Bakr Shibli radiallahu anhu, and Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Abu Bakr Shibli received it from his Shaykh Sayyidina Imam al-Taifa, Sayyidina Junaid al-Baghdadi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And that jubba was received by Sayyidina Shaykh Junaid al-Baghdadi radiallahu from his Shaykh Hazrat Sirruddin Sarri Sakti radiallahu ta'ala. He received it from Hazrat Sayyidina Sirruddin Sarri Sakti radiallahu anhu, and Hazrat Sayyidina Sarri Sakti radiallahu received that jubba from the Mubarak hand from Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Maruf Karhi radiallahu anhu. He received that jubba from Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Maruf Karhi radiallahu ta'ala, who received it from Sayyidina Imam Dawud al-Ta'i radiallahu anhu. He received it from Sayyidina Imam Dawud al-Ta'i radiallahu anhu, and he received it. Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Dawud al-Ta'i radiallahu anhu received it from Sayyidina Shaykh Imam Habib al-Ajami radiallahu anhu. He received it from Sayyidina Shaykh Imam Habib al-Ajami radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and Hazrat Imam Habib al-Ajami radiallahu anhu received it from the hands of Sayyidina Imam Hasan al-Basri radiallahu anhu. He received it from Sayyidina Imam Hasan al-Basri radiallahu anhu, and Imam Hasan al-Basri received it from Mawla Kainat, Hazrat Mawla Ali karramallahu ta'ala, and Mawla Ali radiallahu ta'ala received that jubba from Aqai Namdar, Madri Tajdar, dono jahan ke sardar, Hazrat Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Rasul Pak received that khirqa Mubarak from Jannatul Firdaus, sent from the court of Allah by the hand of Jibreel Amin alayhi salatu wa salam. That is the silsila of the jubba of Sarkar Ghaus Pak. इसके बाद किसी तकरीर की जरूरत नहीं, इसके बाद गौस पाक के ऊपर किसी तकरीर की जरूरत नहीं है. Just look at the silsila of the khirqa, just look at the silsila of the jubba, the khirqa ruhaniyat of Sultanul Hind, the Sultanul Awliya, Sarkar Ghaus Pak radiyallahu ta'ala. Sultanul Hind's name came तो सुल्तान और हिंद भी सुल्तान और हिंद बने हैं गौस पाक की कदम के सदके में। बरकत ऑफ द कदम नाज ऑफ सरकार गौस पाक रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु। गौस पाक रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु is that Imam, गौस पाक रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु is that Imam, Allahu Akbar, that गौस पाक, what does he say? नज़रतु इला बिलादिल्लाहि जमअन का खरदलतिन अला हुक्म इत्तिफाक। गौस पाक रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु says, I look at the entire dunya, kainat, in front of me like how? Like a mustard seed on my palm. Some say sesame seed on my palm. One mustard seed. You look at the mustard seed on your palm, you see everything about that mustard seed. Also, Path said, I look at the world like that. What maqam it is? What गौसे पाक रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु, अरे जो गौसे पाक का हो जाता उसको किसी के लिए डरने की जरूरत नहीं। I don't know how people say we love गौसे पाक and they frighten for this one and they frighten for that one. If I say this rosy troop daddy, say गौसे पाक रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु, हज़रत बाबा फरीदुद्दीन गंज शक्कर रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु, हज़रत बाबा फरीदुद्दीन गंज शक्कर रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु, once very briefly, somebody gave him some nazrana, a whole bag of money. He asked his close and beloved, I think it was Maulana Badruddin, he asked, how much do you need for the Langar Khana? He said, 1 coin, bag of coins. He said, take 1 coin and keep it and distribute the rest. Take 1 coin and keep it, and I'll give you the very brief waqia. Take 1 coin and keep it and distribute the rest. Give it away. Give it away. Distribute it. He said, Huzoor, one thing. He said, what? He said, from before we have qarz of 1 coin. For the past langar food where we feed the poor, we have a credit account of 1 coin. We owe that 1 coin. Hazrat said, take 2 coins. Farid said, take 2 coins. 1 to pay the debt and 1 for today's langar. And the rest distribute it. He went and he distributed. While he was distributing, 1 coin fell. 1 coin fell. When the 1 coin fell, he picked it up and put it into his pocket because he was still distributing. He picked it up and he kept it. He said, Chalo, for tomorrow's langar. For tomorrow's langar. We'll feed people tomorrow because it's for distribution. So it fell out. I realized later, so kept that one. Put it and he went, just not thinking anything, that tomorrow, time came for Fajr Salah. Hazrat Sayyidina Baba Fariduddin Ganj Shakar is on the Musalla. Ties niyat. After a little while, breaks his niyat. Again ties niyat, reads few ayats, again kashmakash, breaks off the niyat. 2-3 times. Turns around and he looks at that beloved murid of his, great alim. He says to him, I don't know what is happening. My heart is not being attached to my recitation and my tilawat and my salah today. Something is in the way. He said, the amount that I told you yesterday that there was given by the king to keep, and I said keep 1 coin for the debt and 1 coin for the day. Did you give all of it? When he heard that, halat kharab, biryana. He said, Huzoor, 1 coin fell at that time. I picked it up and put my pocket. I said, I'll use it tomorrow. Hazrat Baba Fariduddin radiallahu anhu went into Jalal. He said, ki ek dhaat ka tukra, 1 piece of metal is coming in the way between the creation and the creator. 1 piece of metal is coming in the way between the creation and the creator. Maulana kya bhool gaye, teris dene wala Allah hai. Have you forgotten that Allah gives risk? Think about it. Look, डर जाते हैं कि क्या होगा. Hawse Pak radiallahu anhu, when the tahfaz and so much of nazar used to come in his court, keep what was zururat for himself and for the darbar, And he used to tell his son that stand with the touch, stand with whatever is been given, with food, with whatever came, and stand outside and say, come, who wants to partake? Come, who wants to take? Come, who wants to take? Everything is about fear. Why do we have to fight? When we got Ghaus Pak radiallahu anhu, Muridi, la takhaf washin fa'inni azu'bun qatirun inda al-qitan. Ala Hadrat radiallahu anhu, what does he say? Subhanallah. क्या दबे जिस पे हिमायत का हो पंजा तेरा, शेर को खतर मिलाता नहीं कुत्ता तेरा. Even the ajinna, when they heard the jinnat, when they used to hear the name of Ghaus Pak, thar-tharate the. That is why he was called Ghaus al-Thaqalayn. Ghaus of the insan and the Ghaus of the jinn. Ghaus Azam, not only our Ghaus, is the Ghaus of the jinnat. They used to tharate the. It is stated, there is one riwayat that once a person came to Sarkar Ghaus Pak radiallahu anhu, and he came and he said, Ya Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani Baghdadi radiallahu anhu, I have come from Isfahan. I have come from Isfahan, Iran, Persia at that time. He said, I have come from Isfahan. I have one problem, listen carefully. The Hebat of Ghaus Pak. I have one problem. See, what's the problem? He said, my wife suffers from epilepsy. What she first suffers from? Epilepsy. Jisko fits bolte. Urdu mein mirgi. Epilepsy. And he says that the epilepsy is now so severe that it is happening continuously. She's having seizures. And we've tried every kind of medical treatment. And Ghaus Azam radiallahu ta'ala an, there is no fayda. There is no fayda. There is no relief at all. She continues getting these attacks, these fits. Oh, Ghaus Pak, what should I do? People were all seated there. Ghaus Pak radiallahu anhu said, this is not just any epilepsy. On her is the asar of an evil spirit by the name of Khanis, and he comes from Sarandip, from Sri Lanka. Ghaus Pak ने ये नहीं बताया कि क्या प्रॉब्लम, ये भी बताया कि कहां से. This here is by such a mischievous spirit, mischievous jinn. His name, even Ghaus Pak said, he's known by the name of Khanis. He's known as by the name of Khanis. And when he makes asar on her, and that is why I want to say while I'm on this discussion, many people think that this is epilepsy medically, epilepsy apne jagah. But many people who have this, it is really not epilepsy. It is asarat that causes it. That is why you find sometimes some of these cases, no matter what medicine you give, nothing happens. Why? Because it's asarat also that causes this. And as proven from the Darbar of Sarkar Ghaus Pak radiallahu ta'ala. So he said, this thing is called, this one is by the name Khanis. But what you do, don't worry. The next time when your wife gets this epileptic attack, the next time when she gets this epileptic attack, say in her ears, oh Khanis, Shaykh Abdul Qadir, the one who lives in Baghdad. Shaykh Abdul Qadir, the one who lives in Baghdad, he said, go and don't come back. Tell her in her ears that Shaykh Abdul Qadir, who lives in Baghdad, said, go and don't come back, and tell him that if you come back, you will meet your end. Tell him that if you come back, you will meet your end. This person went away. The people of Baghdad Sharif said, we used to see him coming to Baghdad. But when he went away for 10 years, he did not come again. We did not see him for 10 years. After 10 years, we saw him in Baghdad Sharif. And when we saw him in Baghdad Sharif after 10 years, we recognized him. So the first thing we asked him, what's the situation with your wife? He said, when I went back and she had the first attack, I said in her ears, Shaykh Abdul Qadir, the one who lives in Baghdad, said, go and don't come back. And if you come back, you will meet your doom, you will meet your end. He said, Alhamdulillah, till today she has never had an attack. Till today she has not had an attack, but isko rehne do. This was only his wife. From that time, for as long as Ghaus Pak was in Baghdad for 40 years, not one single case of epilepsy in Baghdad. Not a single case of epilepsy in Baghdad was recorded in 40 years.
And the only next case of epilepsy that happened after that was the day that Sarkar-e Ghaus Pak left this dunya. Until then, nobody was happy. This was the karamat of Sarkar-e Ghaus Pak's one in words. About one case. Samajh rahe? Ye Ghaus Azam Jilani radiyallahu anhu. And I think there's 5 minutes for Ishaz, huh? And I'm going to give you one waqia. And this waqia you heard so many times about Ghaus Pak. But today I want to go behind the scene of that waqia. Very quickly. You know, we all hear the waqia about Sarkar-e Ghaus Azam Jilani radiyallahu ta'ala an, and the story about the bandits. No, when he was a boy, and the bandit story. But you know, many people think boy, when they say little boy, they're thinking about 10 years old or 12 years old. No, sir. Please understand, when Ghaus Pak entered Baghdad, he was 18 years old. You must understand. When Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, he was a youth. When he entered Baghdad after his trip, he was 18 years old. Like that. Now, what is the history behind this waqia of those bandits? I'm going to tell you today very quickly. Probably you heard it for barakat, because after I read it, you read these waqiyas, and you read it after some time, and then it refreshes your iman and strengthens your love for the awliya. So Hazrat Ghaus Azam Jilani al-Baghdadi radiyallahu ta'ala, concerning this, there's a history behind it. There's a huge history behind it, and this history is quoted in Al-Dalail al-Jawahir, and the narrator of it is Shaykh Qaid al-Awani radiyallahu ta'ala. Al-Sayyidina Shaykh Imam Qaid al-Awani radiyallahu anhu, who was one of the very close murids of Sarkar-e Ghaus Pak, and also a great guru. Sayyidina Qaid al-Awani radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was a murid of Ghaus Pak radiyallahu anhu, and he says, I used to ask Ghaus Pak many questions. I used to ask him a lot for learning purpose. See, there's 2 reasons why you ask. There are 2 reasons why somebody asks. One is you ask because you want to test somebody's knowledge and show that you know better. And the other is you ask because you sincerely want to learn. And the first kind of person, Imam Ghazali radiallahu anhu said that don't give him any knowledge. Don't teach such a person because he will be destructive. Because he's arrogant and he will fuel his arrogance. And the second type of person, increase him, bless him with more. Let him learn more so he will benefit the deen of Allah. Subhanallah. Two types, okay? So, Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Qaid al-Awani radiallahu ta'ala, Shaykh Qaid al-Awani radiallahu was of the second type, obviously. He asked to learn. He asked because he wanted to listen to the gems from the Zuban of Sarkar-e Ghaus Pak radiallahu ta'ala. So it is stated that he used to ask Ghaus Pak radiallahu many questions. And once he asked Ghaus Pak radiallahu that upon what bunyad, what is the bunyad? The foundation of what you have built all of this. Whether it was the Jamia Nizamiya Baghdad Sharif, or it is the business that Ghaus Pak radiallahu used to have. He had a business. Ghaus Pak did tijarat because it was the sunnah of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he did it for halal rose. Okay? So Ghaus Pak radiallahu anhu, he asked that what is the foundation upon which you built this all this that you have here, this business and all this khanqah, whatever you have here. What is the foundation upon which you built this? What is the foundation? And Ghaus Pak radiallahu anhu said that I built this on the foundation of sidq. I built this on the foundation of sidq. What's sidq? Truthfulness. Subhanallah. Sachai. Whatever I built, whether it's my business, whether it is this khanqahs, I built this on the foundation of truth. And he said after that, Al-Sayyidi Al-Awani radiallahu anhu said that after he said that, Ghaus Pak radiallahu anhu said, I have never told a lie in my life. This is a powerful declaration. I have never told a lie in my life, not even when I was in Maktab, in my elementary madrasa, reading Alif Bed. I have never told a lie in my life, not even when I was in elementary madrasa, in basic madrasa, Maktab, reading Alif Ba, not even that time. And then Ghaus Pak radiallahu himself said, I was still a youngster, I was still a my youth, in our native country of Jilan. He tells, I was a young man in the native country of Jilan. Listen to this with your heart, subhanAllah. I was in the native country of Jilan. I went towards the rural area at the edge of Jilan. You know, the end of this, the rural area, outskirts. No? I went to the outskirts of Jilan. And I remember very well, he says it was the day of Arafat. I was a young man. I was very young. And I had gone out, I just went out, Jenny, just for a walk. No intention. Just to walk, to look around, you know, for tafreel. Just to walk around, just to roam around. Not with a bad intention, the word roam here. In other words, just to walk, to see, to look at things, you know. So he said, I just walked. I went for tafreel, I just walked. I thought to walk. And I decided to take a walk towards the outskirts, a little bit farther. So I walked towards the outskirts of the city of Baghdad, and I remember well, it was the day of Arafat. And as I was walking, I came across a field. I came across a field, and there was a cow plowing the field, or an ox or a cow. It was plowing the field. So I started to walk behind it. What I did? I started to walk behind it. He said, because I'd gone for a walk. Now I came to a field, and finally I find there's a cow there, or a bull or whatever, it's plowing the field. So I decided to walk behind it. And as I started to pace behind this bull or cow on the field plowing, there was another cow next to it. It turned around and looked at me, and it said, "Oh, Abdul Qadir." Animal. It turned around and it looked at me, and it said, "Oh, Abdul Qadir, Allah did not create you for this. Oh, Abdul Qadir, Allah did not create you for this." Yani जानवर भी गौसे पाक को पहचानते हैं. The cow or the bull or the ox that is plowing and tilling the land knows this is Abdul Qadir Jilani. और 40 दिन की मौलवी पहचान नहीं पाए, ना पहचाने ना पहचान पाए. Okay? But that animal, तो अच्छा कौन है भाई? गाय उससे अच्छा है, बहुत अच्छा है. Plows the field, but is not mustahil. Plows the field, knows the adab of the awliya Allah. That's why when Bishr Hafi used to walk in Baghdad Sharif, as long as he was alive, no animal left droppings on the streets which Bishr Hafi walked. Because it made adab for him. Samajh rahe? The animals make adab of the awliya. So, this cow was plant the field, was walking behind as a young man, he's narrating himself. And he says, another cow turned around to me and he said, "Oh, Abdul Qadir, you have not been created for this." It was the day of Arafat. I remember the day, he says, and this animal said this to me. He said, when he said to me, I immediately ran back to my house. He was awestruck. He was in shock. There's an animal talking to me and it knows my name. It knows my name. Not that Hosefat didn't know about his fadilah. Because when Hosefat was asked, when did you come to know about your wilayah? He said, when I was a little boy going to madrasa. And I used to see the malaika beside me and they used to say to the people, "Move, let Abdul Qadir pass." Give space for him to sit. So I knew, but Hosefat says, at that day I was awestruck. Because the cow was talking to me. And it was giving me a message from my Rabb, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. "Oh, Abdul Qadir, you have not been created for this." So he said, I ran home awestruck. I was in awe. I was in shock. I ran home. And as I went home, I ran to the top of my house and I climbed onto the roof. In that condition, after that message that the animal passed, the message from the court of Allah. I said, but how can this happen? Why can it not happen? That needs some simple understanding. Did the tree not talk to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam? But it was giving the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala is Qadir Mutlaq. So Hosefat says, I ran when the cow did that. I ran. And I ran to the top of my roof of my house. And he said, when I got to the roof of my house, I was young. When I ran in that state to the top of the roof of my house, I reached the top of my house, and when I looked from the roof, he said, Alhamdulillah, I could see the people making waquf on Maidan Arafat, and I could see the manzar of the Kaaba. I could see the people making waquf on the plains of Arafat. He climbed on the roof of his house in the state of an elevated ruhaniyat. And the eyes became so powerful that he could see for a distance of approximately 1,900 kilometers. The distance between Baghdad, between Gilan and Arafat is approximately, actually Baghdad to Arafat is 1,900 kilometers. More than that is Gilan. Even more than that. He could see, what he could see? He could see the people making waquf in Arafat. He says, when that happened, and I could see this with my bare eyes, with my naked eyes, I rushed down to my mother. And I said something to my mother. I went down to my mother and I said to her, listen to this word of Wasifat. Allah. For those people who don't want to make their children Hafiz al-Quran. We don't want to make our child Hafiz because pata nahi Hafiz bante kya karega. We don't want to make them ulama. I'm proud of parents who send their children to become ulama and fast. Who make mehnat for the sake of deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them barakah. It's not easy. Okay? But listen to this. Wasifat, a cow speaks to him, he rushes to the roof of his house and he sees Maidan Arafat. And then he runs back into the house and he goes to his mother. And you know what he says to his mother? He goes to his mother and he says to her, oh my beloved mother, gift me. Give me away as a gift for the pleasure of Allah. Give me away. Make me what? People give their wealth. People give property. Wasifat comes straight to his mother, give me away. Oh my beloved mother, give me away as a gift to Allah and grant me permission to journey to Baghdad. And grant me permission to journey to Baghdad. Why I will, and what did he want to go Baghdad for? See what he said. Two things. Where I will acquire the knowledge of deen and I will sit in the company of the beloveds of Allah. Not just acquire the knowledge of deen, but I will sit in the company of the awliya Allah, because he knew without that the deen ilm won't come. It has to do with the beloveds. Right? Give me that permission. His mother asked him, Abdul Qadir, what has brought this on? Tell me, what has happened? And he says, I told the waqia to my mother of what happened. And my mother burst into tears. My mother burst into tears. And she rushed into her home. She rushed into the house. And she went into the house. And on going in, she brought 80 gold coins. She brought out 80 gold coins. And she kept aside 40 for my brother. And she took 40 and she sewed it in the lining of my jubba. This was the 80 coins that my father had left as inheritance was. She took 40 and she kept it aside. People don't think twice of squandering anybody's inheritance today. Look at Wasifat's mother's honesty. Look at her dard for her child and her children. She takes 40 and she keeps it on one side. This is to be just. And she takes the other 40 and she sews it into the lining of the coat of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu ta'ala an. And after doing that, she gives him permission to make this safar to Baghdad. And Wasifat radiallahu anh says, she went after fetching that 80 dinars, those coins, and sewing it into my coat. Wasifat radiallahu anh says she gives me permission to travel. And then she also tells me to give a wa'da, do a promise. And what is the promise which we all know? The promise of sidq. That, oh Abdul Qadir, never tell a lie. Oh Abdul Qadir, don't lie. Always tell the truth no matter what the circumstance you find yourself in. And he said, as I left, she said to me, oh my son, Al-Wida. Oh my son, now go, farewell. I have detached myself from you for the sake of Allah. I have detached myself from you for the sake of Allah Almighty. And I know well that I shall not see this face of yours again until the day of Qiyamah. I shall not see this face of yours again until the day of Qiyamah. Even the mother of Wasifat's wilayat was Zahir. And no doubt she was a waliya. We know the history, I'm not going to go there. And Huzoor Pak said, and so set us, and so went I on this journey to Gyarhwee Shareef. And on the journey, the waqia that we all know, they were accosted by bandits. And Huzoor Pak says there were 60 of them on horses. There were 60 of them on horses. And they got hold of us. And they looted the entire caravan that was there. They took everybody's things. They plundered the caravans. And because I was so young, and I was in a fakiri libas, they left me. But when they started going to all the people, they came, one of them came to me and he said, "Oh young boy, do you have anything with you?" I said, "Yes, I do." "What do you have?" 40 dinars.
Allah, subhanallah.
How much?
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
40 dinars. Somebody knocks on your door. I'm not saying the face. Masjid wall broke, need to put 1-2 bricks, you got 5,900 there. You mark and buy, things are tight. Here we to get the nahi hai bahut se. Why paisa bachana? We lie in everything today. Everything we lie on. Every mocha, and we've become so accustomed to lying, we think we're telling the truth. And do you know there's a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that when a person becomes a compulsive liar, he lies and lies and lies and lies. It came in the hadith that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that he lies to such an extent that he is written by Allah as a kadhib. He is written by Allah as a liar. And such a person, even when he is telling lies, he believes he is telling the truth. So if you are doing this, make tawbah. There's still time. Everything is lies to you. Every second word is a lie. What are we going to do in the court of Allah when we are written as liars? Does the Quran not say, La'natullahi ala al-kadhibin? The curse of Allah falls upon a liar. Huzoor Pak is being asked, how much you got to say? 40 dinars. That one of those bandits asked him, he looks at him and he smiles. Because he thought that Huzoor Pak in such a serious time was having a joke with him. Such a serious, with plundering the entire caravan, and this young man is telling him he got 40 gold coins. So he thought that Huzoor Pak was testing his humor. So he says, "Okay, where is it?" He said, "Here in the lining of my coat." He shakes his head and he takes a walk. Shakes his head and he takes a walk. Another one comes after some time. He reaches Huzoor Pak. He said, "Do you have anything?" He said, "Yeah." "What do you have?" 40 gold coins. He also thinks he's joking. He said, 40 gold coins you have? He said, "Yeah." "Where do you have it?" "In the lining of my coat." Shakes his head and goes away. Thinks he's making a mockery. But look at this Huzoor Pak. Look at the maqam of Sidq at such a young age. All of them go, they sit with their leader. If I remember right, his name was Ahmad al-Badawi, the leader of the bandits at that time. They go and they sit with him. And they all telling what they brought. "Okay, I brought this amount, I do." So the two of them are talking amongst themselves. So the leader asked them, "What are you talking about?" They said, "There's a young boy and he's playing jokes, such a serious time. We've attacked them, but he doesn't even take it seriously. He's saying he's got 40 gold coins." The leader says, "Go and bring him." Brings him. He says, "What do you have with you?" He says, 40 gold coins. 40 dinars. He said, "Where do you have it?" He said, "Here in the lining of my coat." The leader says, "Take off the coat." They rip the coat open, they find the gold coins inside. They find the gold coins inside. In those days, they used to wear clothes of soot. The jubba was soot. That's why one reason that the Sufyan Ikram are called Sufi. Because they wore woolen clothes. They wore these woolen clothes, soot. So one of the reasons that they call soot. Okay? And one is because of them being untainted, pure.
Subhanallah.
So, when they tore it open, they found this 40 gold coins. The leader of the bandits was in awe. He was shocked. Hayran. "Oh young man, we are robbers. We steal, we plunder. You would never see these 40 gold coins again." You are not going to see these 40 gold coins again. We would have never known that you had it. Right? Mal bachana bhi farz hai. But this was the maqam sidq of Musa.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
You would have not known that you have this money. Why did you have to tell us? You could have saved your money. You could have gone and used your money. These are 40 gold coins. Hossein said, when I was leaving home to come to Baghdad to study, my mother asked me to give her a promise. And she held me and said, oh my beloved son, no matter what circumstance you face, don't tell lies. Never tell a lie. He said, so I made a promise to my mother. For those who don't respect their mothers, who don't know what is the adab of a mother, Hossein is teaching what is the promise that you make with your mother. A child who made such a promise to his mother, can you understand what his adab for his mother must have been? He says, I promised my mother when leaving Gilan to Baghdad that I will never lie. Hence when you people asked me, I told you that this is what I have. The leader of the bandits broke down in tears, weeping, crying, zar qatar rone laga. He was weeping bitterly, and he said, oh young man, you are so concerned about a promise that you made to Allah, and I'm a Muslim. What about the promises I made to my Rabb Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a Muslim? That I will not loot, I will fear Allah, I will obey Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I will perform my salah, I will do all righteous deeds. What about those promises that I made to my Allah? You have made a promise to your mother, and you are so sincere in fulfilling that promise that you don't care if you lose all your wealth. And you are willing to give away everything to fulfill the promise for your mother. And yet, look at what kind of a life I have lived after promising Allah to be a Muslim and a believer. He fell at the qadam of Sarkar Ghaus Pak radiallahu anhu. And he said, I make you witness, O young man. I make you witness, O young man, in the court of Allah. And I make tawbah at your hand. I make tawbah at your hand. And he said to all those that were with him, the other 59, that you may do as you will. I have now made tawbah at the hands of this young blessed pious man. For he has made me realize my promise in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The 59 of them, do you know what they said? They said, we were your accomplices in sin. We were your accomplices in sin. Now we will be your partners in repentance. We were your accomplices in sin. Now we will be your companions in repentance. The other 59 also make tawbah on the hands of Sarkar Ghaus Pak radiallahu ta'ala. Ghaus Azam radiallahu says that from all the people thereafter that made tawbah at my hand, these were the first 60 that made tawbah at the hands of Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu. And what brought all this up? The message of walking behind the cow from the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that brought Ghaus Pak to this level and taught him the lessons of sidq, the message from to the house of his beloved mother. Something that we should think about and talk and try and understand. And Ghaus Pak's discussion we can talk and talk and talk a lot about. But enough for us to understand that how fortunate we are to be calling ourselves Qadiri. Whether you Chishti, whether you Sohrawardi, whether you Naqshbandi, any silsila. But our nisbat is through Ghaus Pak. Because he is the king of the awliya. Why? Because Mazra-e Chisht, Bukhara or Iraq or Ajmer. Mazra-e Chisht, Bukhara or Iraq or Ajmer. कौन सी कश्त पे बरसा नहीं छाला तेरा, और सारे अफ्ताब जहां करते हैं काबे का तवाफ, और सारे अफ्ताब जहां करते हैं काबे का तवाफ, काबा करता है तवाफ ऐ दरे वाला तेरा। और जो वली कब्र थे या बाद हुए या होंगे, सब अदब रखते हैं दिल में मेरे आका तेरा। और वह क्या मर्तबा गौस है बाला तेरा, ऊंचे ऊंचों के सरों से कदम आला तेरा। और क्या दबे जिस पे हिमायत का हो पंजा तेरा, क्या दबे जिस पे हिमायत का हो पंजा तेरा। شیر کو خط ملاتا نہیں کتا تیرا. And Ghaus Azam radiallahu anhu scored. I end today's talk with the words of Sarkar Ghaus al-Waqt, Huzoor Sayyidi wa Sanadi, Sarkar Mufti A'zam Hind radiallahu anhu, when he said, ye dil ye jigar hai, ye aankhein ye sar hai, jahan chaho rakho, qadam Ghaus Azam, aur jo qismat ho meri buri achhi kar de, jo aadat ho bad kar bhali Ghaus Azam, میری روزی مجھ کو عطا کر دے آقا. تیرے در سے دنیا ملی غوث اعظم اور تیرے ہاتھ میں ہاتھ میں نے دیا ہے. تیرے ہاتھ میں ہاتھ میں نے دیا ہے. تیرے ہاتھ ہے لاج یا غوث اعظم. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ.